Welcome to Bled Talk, where language barriers are shattered and aspirations take flight. I'm your host, Samuel Bledsoe, here to ignite your English journey. Each week, join us for captivating conversations between native speakers, unraveling the secrets of vocabulary and expressions through authentic stories and natural dialogue. Let's empower your language skills and embrace the power of communication. Let's dive into today's episode. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Bled Talk this week. We are going to be doing our conversation this week with Wendy again. I don't know if you guys remember from the second episode. If you haven't heard that one, it's really good. There's a lot of interesting things and good information for you to learn, and there's a little bit about her as well. But today, we're going to play a pretty fun game that we play a lot in the United States, which is called Would You Rather. And Would You Rather is when we give two options, and we ask the person what they would prefer to do if they were given those two situations. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with it. Are you ready, Wendy?
I am ready when you are.
All right. So here's the first question. Would you rather go into the past and meet your ancestors, or go into the future and meet your great-great-grandchildren?
Wow, that's a tough one. How about... I think I would want to go into the past and meet my ancestors.
Why?
Why? So why? Just because I've heard so many stories about them that it would be just cool to meet them and see if they're really how I've pictured them in my mind, and just get to know. It kind of helps you to learn who you are, to know about people in the past.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I would rather meet my ancestors, because it depends on the ancestors as well, like how far
Right.
we're going. Because, for example, great-great-grandchildren, I mean, technically, I've met my great-grandpa, and technically my great-grandpa has met his, electronically has met his great-great-grandson. And so
True.
he's already seen his great-great-grandson. And I mean, I'm sure, they can't have that conversation. And unfortunately, we're getting to that time, and they probably won't have a full conversation in their lives. And that would be really neat, but I think it would be really cool to meet my ancestors for the same reason you said, just to kind of get to know them.
And if you think about it, like, they're not going to change. They are who they were. Nothing's going to change about that. But like your future grandchildren, just the whole like going into the future thing, anything could change. That may not even be how it is.
There's that. And,
Getting off Wi-Fi-ish.
I think, history, we already have an idea of what the history was like, whereas in the future, nobody knows. And you could go into the future and be really disappointed with your great-great-grandchildren or whatever the case may be. And they might know things about you that you don't want to know. They could ask you and talk to you. So I think meeting ancestors is a safer bet.
I agree.
But yeah, good. All right. The next question I have is, would you rather have more time or more money?
I think I'd rather... Yeah, that one's kind of crazy too. Because it's like, I know the right answer is I'd rather have more time.
Right.
That's the deeper meaning, but your quick answer is, yeah, so many things would be so much easier better if I had more money.
I think,
but I think truly time.
Well, I think I'd almost have more time if I had more money, if that makes
right. There's that. Like, they kind of both really affect each other. Like, if you had more time, you might have more time to and make more money and make wise investments, and therefore you could have more money. Or like you said, if you had more money, maybe you wouldn't have to put in so many hours of working, and therefore you'd have more time. So they're really connected.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for me, I would definitely probably choose more money. As much as I understand more time is the
Right.
a morally correct situation. Because for example,
Truthfully, right?
yeah,
Truthfully, it's money.
well, because if I worked a normal 40-hour work week, I think that the amount of time that I would have outside of that isn't so bad. Having you have 8 hours of work, then you have 8 hours at home, and you have time off, you have weekends and things like that. But the issue is those times get so difficult because you can't do anything because you don't want to spend money. So if you had more money, then you could make better use of the time that you already have, I think. And so
True.
I would just, if I had more money, that would make things a lot better than more time.
It almost has to be specific about, like, if you're asking about like more time, you're like, we're more time to with like a specific person or more vacation time. So I think you're
Like,
right there.
but yeah, no, it's an interesting question. And
It
then,
is.
would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life?
I'd say rewind.
Really?
Yep.
Why would you say rewind?
Well, there's certain times that I wish I would have made a different choice, and that could hopefully positively impact my life future wise. I can't think of any. I mean, there's been so many times in my life that have been happy and I've really enjoyed, but I can't think of any where I'd want to just pause it and be like, this is where I want to stay for a
Yeah.
really long time.
Well, and I think it depends. Like, if pausing your life means like there's no like progression or like everything stops, or
Right.
does it mean that, or does that mean that, like, like you said, like there's just, you're going to stay in that situation? Is it like Groundhog Day where it's the same day all the time,
Right.
or is there something different? Because like for me, I I understand choosing a rewind button, but I feel like I would get too addicted to pressing the rewind button.
Ah,
I feel
it
like
could become addicted.
yeah, I would just keep pressing rewind until I got the right thing that I wanted.
There
Whereas,
would have to be rules, right?
yeah, and then like a pause button, I would pause every night and go to bed and sleep and then wake up and then press pause, and then you have a 24-hour day in the rest of the world. But for everyone else,
So you're like, if you could just pause for a little bit, just whenever, not necessarily just push pause and like your life stops for a long time.
right. I think for me, it would just be like a pause and like literally everything stops, and then
Like when things get really hectic, could you just push pause and you work on what you need to do and get it done, and then push play when you're ready to kind of get
right.
going?
Or like I need to eat something, but I don't have time, so like I'll press pause
Ah,
and then
yeah.
and then unpress pause again.
There you go. Yeah.
I think I
I,
would.
I'd, I'd have to request more information before I made the
Yeah,
final choice, I
pretty
guess.
pretty ones. But good. And then, would you rather be able to talk with animals or speak all foreign languages?
I'm going to go with all foreign languages.
Really? Why is that?
Well, I mean, animals are cute, and I really love animals, but they're pretty simple,
Right.
and you can pretty much figure out what they're thinking, I think, by just looking at them, and it's almost more fun just to guess and give them your own human voice, I think. Whereas if I knew all foreign languages, I could just travel wherever I wanted and be able to speak and understand anybody and get to know so many more people and about them, and there's just more depth to people.
Well, and like more depth to just how you understand things, right? Because
Right.
I think, at least for me, after learning Portuguese, I've really started to understand, for example, scriptures. Whenever you read the Bible or something in a different
Right.
language, they use specific words because it gives a specific feeling. It gives a different meaning. I remember, this is one that I thought was interesting. There's a part when they're talking about Jesus when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and in Portuguese they use a verb which means to grind, and so they were talking about how Jesus was like, he was being like ground, like ground beef, like being grinded, and that made the feeling a lot more intense than what it was in English. I don't remember what the part in English was, but I remember hearing that, and I was like, wow, that's a lot.
In English, they say that he bled from every pore.
Well, there was that, yeah, there was that too, but they say that there's a way when they talk about like the pressure that he feels and the things like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't quite convey the kind of pain that he probably felt. Whereas you understand, like you said, when you think of like being ground, that pressure and that's very painful and terrible.
Well,
you can understand that.
And it might have been like a prophecy or something like that when they were talking about what he was going to go through. But I thought it was so interesting because I just was like, wow, that's not how I envisioned it. But now it makes a lot more sense. I guess it gives you a deeper appreciation.
Yeah.
And so I think speaking all foreign languages just, and even the little words that I've learned in like French or in Spanish or other things, those have really opened up how I understand things. It's like the word budget in English. It comes from a word in French. I forget what it is, but basically there was a little thing in France, and the name of it was something similar to budget. And it was like a small quantity of something. And so they took the word and applied it to having a budget when it comes to buying things. And so it's interesting how all those things come about. And I think, like you said, speaking with animals, I don't think they would say anything interesting.
No.
You can love animals all you want, but they're animals. If you listen to them, they're probably going to talk about food. I think that is going to be the big thing of everything that they do. You're going to hear them, and you're going to, you'll listen to them talk, and they're going to be like, I want food. Give me food. Where's the food?
Any of the like TikToks or Reels that you watch on Facebook or wherever you're watching those things, and people do the voiceovers for the pets, I think they're exactly right.
That's true.
So it's good enough.
That's perfect enough, I think.
Like, so, I love you. Why did you leave me for 5 minutes? That was like an eternity.
Yeah, basically. But good. All right. The next one I have here is, would you rather win the lottery or live twice as long?
I'd rather win the lottery.
We could say win whichever lottery, I guess.
Like the big lottery?
Yeah, like when it gets big, when it gets to the billions.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Why would you choose the lottery?
Yeah, life, I thinking of life being, somewhere between 80, 90 years long, having come 50 years, not like I'm tired or anything, but I can see we're at about 80 or 90 years, maybe, ready for something different. And might as well have a lot of money to really enjoy those years up to that point and do some quality, good traveling and take your family to make good memories and all that.
It's better to be rich for a little while than be poor forever.
Yeah. I'm sure like the other question, it's probably morally the wrong answer, but
No, I would rather win the lottery because if you live twice as long, then you get to see twice as many people die. And it's just, because you're supposed to, if it's a normal life, maybe your parents will probably die before you, and your
Yeah,
aunts and uncles and all of them, and then it's your turn. Whereas if you
yeah,
live twice as long, then they all go, then you and all your friends go,
children.
and then your children are gonna go, and that,
Yeah.
and maybe even your grandchildren will get to that point, and you don't. I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't want
What
to.
are, and what are the, you don't know what the stipulations with that. Are you just going to continue to have all of these old people problems, that just keep going and going?
Like, or do
Like,
you just get, like, for example, like your 20s are twice as long and your 30s are twice as long and so forth.
that, yeah, that would be better, but
But
still.
yeah, and you could invest money and you'll know that you'll be alive whenever it's ready. But
That's true.
you still have to have money to invest. So I mean, I think winning the
All
lottery
right.
is the better option. But good.
There you go.
So here's the next one. Would you rather lose your vision or your hearing?
I've thought about that so many times. And I think I decided I would rather lose my hearing.
Why?
I get a lot of enjoyment from visual things, from scenery, from just and if you can see, you can, you even if you're watching TV, and then you can read the subtitles, and so
Mhm.
you can still know what's going on, or out and in other places you can learn to read lips, or I think you're still
You're a
the
lot less.
community.
You're a lot less.
Yeah, I just think it would be more filling, and as my your your grandma, she can't see very good, and I don't know, it seems, I mean, it'd be hard if she couldn't hear too, I guess, but
But not seeing is really
yeah,
in
having
a bigger
watched
thing.
her.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I don't know. I honestly don't know which one, because for me, something, when it comes to speaking and listening, that's
Yeah,
and
music,
also I
all
was
that.
saying music for me it's a huge part of my life, and so I don't know if I would be willing, not necessarily to give it up, but to experience it in a different way. If that,
Right.
because I always tell people here, especially, like, music for me is there is a special type of music for every feeling that you have. There's a different way to hear things, and to me, music can paint pictures for you, if that makes sense. If you listen, there's music for working out. There's music for when you're sad. There's music for when you want to relax. There's music for sleeping. There's music for everything. And
Right.
I always tell people that because people will tell me that they think that they love all music, and I always tell them that they're wrong, that they don't love all music. And they're like, no, no, anything you show me, I will love it. And I'm like, okay. And I show them,
Right.
I'll show them anything. If there are people who really like rock, then I will show them some really country music. And then if there are people who are really into like concert music, then that's when you go into like techno and rap, or when people think that they like everything, but that's just because they like modern music, then you show them like opera or jazz. For a long time, I didn't like jazz, but then I started to listen to it more, and I started to understand why why people like jazz.
Right.
But yeah, I think for me, I would rather lose. I think I'd rather lose my vision because I would
Yeah.
rather. But yeah, no,
I,
it's It's an interesting.
Ultimately, I'd just rather not lose either one.
Yeah, I would rather keep both of them. So that's
Right.
But I'm preparing myself because my eyes are terrible anyway. So one day I won't see anything and just see a bunch of blotches and colors everywhere. But hopefully not.
Maybe,
Hopefully medicine.
maybe not.
I mean,
Technology.
yeah. But good. So would you rather work more hours per day but fewer days, or work fewer hours per day but more days?
I would rather work more hours per day.
Right? Because like working already ruins your day anyway. So
Right. Like, and
that
once
is.
you get started, it's like you just can keep going for a while anyway. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I get that. For me, like 12-hour days, I used to think that those were crazy, but then, after doing what I do now, I don't think that there is any, unless I were to work for a full 24 hours, there's not really anything that I'm like scared of doing. If
No.
But I don't plan on ever doing that. I hope not. But yeah, I too, I would rather work more hours per day and in fewer days.
Sure.
But yeah,
That was
and then I have a, this one's interesting. I've never thought about this. Would you rather keep your current first name or change it if you had the chance? I mean, today, I guess you could change it, but like, if you were able to just change it really easily, would you change your first name or would you keep it?
I think I think I would keep it.
Just
I
because.
don't I don't I can't think of any other name I would rather have. I mean, considering my name is really not very deep. It's just, Peter Pan's companion friend, but
Fast food burgers.
fast food burgers, a weather condition, it's a fun name, right? I mean, my middle name is Heather. I might would change to that, but I think I would keep my name.
Yeah,
If somebody asked me they're like, okay, you can change your name right now if you want to. Nah,
yeah.
no thanks.
I
What
think
about you?
I would definitely keep mine. As popular as my name is, I don't know. You just grow up, and so many things in your life are based off of your name, I think. And I say that because of, there's alphabetical order. There's people who meet you, and you are associated with that name for a lot of people. And so, and I don't have a name that's like difficult, and there's not really a lot of people that can, because I get it. If you have a really difficult name, or you have a name that's a little weird, then yeah, maybe you would want to change it. But,
Yeah.
I don't have a difficult name. No. And that was a big thing as well for like when we were thinking about naming little Jeremy. It was, and it wasn't like, oh, I want to name, that wasn't the first thing. It was one of those, like, what was a good name that we could give him that would be good in English and in Portuguese? And we also wanted to think of a name that he wouldn't get made fun of for. And so we went through so many names, and Diana had said so many that was like, they were just all these names from like TV shows that she's heard. And it's funny because here there's not a lot of people with those American names, but I know a lot of people who have those names. And it was like, I don't want a name. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And I was like, what about my dad's name? What about Jeremy? And Diana liked it. She thought it was good, and we thought that Dad would be happy with it too. And it worked. It works because people here can say it, and it's different, but it's a name that people can say. And in the United States, it's not super common, but also not like, not
There's
complete.
really only one way to spell it too. There's not like 50 different ways to spell it.
Yeah, it's a pretty normal thing, and I think we wanted to give him that ease in the future.
Right.
For
Right.
so I think having your first name is important, and I like mine, so I don't think I would. I
Well,
don't think I would change.
the funny thing with your name is there are a lot of nicknames that come with your name. And as a child, you did not like those nicknames.
No. Oh, I think I didn't like them because I felt like I was getting made fun of, and it's completely wrong. I wasn't getting made fun of, but that was
No.
it was just kind of that's just how I felt, I guess, and I didn't want to do that anymore. But yeah,
I'm not Sammy. I am not
right.
Samuel. I am not Sammy Sam. I am Samuel.
Right. Oh, and I it's funny because what's funny is like Diana, she notices a lot of times whenever I talk to my family, like not just you or dad or grandpa, but everybody, like most of my family members call me Samuel, and I don't like I never noticed that until she pointed it out. But most of the time, I get called Samuel by my family, and I get called Sam a lot by my friends. Now, you guys call me Sam, but it's Samuel is a lot more common, and I don't know why. I don't know what happens. I guess maybe that's because when I was a kid,
Well, that's more dad's. He wanted you to be Samuel, not Sam. Just like Abby, he wanted Abby to be Abigail.
All the time.
So he calls you guys Samuel and Abigail probably more than anybody else.
Yeah, well, I would say he does, but I mean, I guess that's a good thing though. It's good to because it reminds you of your name, and it doesn't like take away anything, I guess. But yeah.
Yep. That's true.
This last one I have for you is, I think I know the answer to it, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Would you rather spend the night in a luxury hotel room or camping surrounded by beautiful scenery?
What do you think my answer is?
I want you to answer first because
okay, my God. I don't know. Have you ever seen? There's like, I don't even know if this place really exists, but have you seen like on any advertisements or social media where there's like this big glass room out in the middle of the woods?
Like hangs out over the mountain edge.
It's like really nice, but then you still have all that scenery. Can I combine the two? Just like that?
If it's a luxury hotel room, then sure.
No. I see that one's the same thing. So it's kind of like if the luxury hotel room is in a really gross place.
Okay, let's say that the luxury hotel room is in a city that you always wanted to go to. It's super nice. It's in a good area. Camping it's in, some mountain range somewhere that's very, very beautiful. Somewhere you've always wanted to go and you have the chance to camp there. Which one would you choose?
Or have all the camping gear needed, right?
Yeah, you have everything that you need to camp, but you can't use an RV or like any
no glamping, huh?
Yeah, no glamping. Just it has to be in a tent, and nothing that like wouldn't go with you normally.
Okay. I guess I'll go with the scenery.
Really?
The camping.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I was wrong. I thought you were going to pick the luxury hotel room because I know.
I mean, that would be. That's why I'm like, that's so hard.
Well, if you think about it, because it's still camping. Like even if it's at a really beautiful place, it's still camping. Now, if you and Dad went camping, like just you guys together, I'm sure that camping wouldn't be as unbearable as it is with children. Because I've come to find out that like camping itself is not too difficult if you know how to camp, and Dad knows how to camp. But when you have children and like people who are doing things all the time that don't know how to do, basically when you have things that are messing up your ability to do everything you need to, then it gets difficult. But have you seen the air mattresses that they have nowadays? Like
they're basically a bed.
Yeah, and they're super nice. You can take
Oh,
sheets. I'm sure that there's air mattresses that are nicer than some like actual real mattresses.
I
And,
yeah, I agree. I agree because that's the worst part is trying to sleep on the ground,
yeah, and if you have a good air mattress and you can take sheets. You don't even have to do a whole like sleeping
sleeping
bag.
bag, right?
You can take sheets, take a comforter, take some pillows, and you can sleep like normal as long as you don't pop the air mattress. Then everything is
Yep,
good. Even if you sleep in the winter, if it's cold, you can always take a heater. And tents nowadays are super nice as well because you can
right.
buy the ones that are stand up. But I mean, obviously, if you went to like back in the day camping, I would rather choose a like hotel room. But with the modern luxuries of modern day camping, I would love to go camping in a beautiful place, even in a not so beautiful place. I haven't been
See,
camping in like 6 years, and
it's been a long time for me too.
and Diana has never been camping before, and so
We're gonna have to go camping.
I would love to take her camping, and I think, especially since I don't know if the young men do it at church anymore, but I don't, they don't really have scouts for camping anymore, and I hope that I can take little Jamie to camp a lot whenever
Well,
it just helps you. It helps you grow up and appreciate nature.
exactly, and now there's always let's take Alaska for instance.
Yeah,
If I were to do a big trips there, it would. There's definitely some really nice hotels that would be great to stay at and explore all around. But I also think it would be cool to take a night or two and just, sleep out and
yeah.
camp.
In
But
Alaska,
there's also bear.
I was gonna say in Alaska, I would do a cat maybe. But
There's bear. I forgot. They might eat you, so that's not good.
yeah, but then you have like Utah, you could sleep in like the desert or something, and
Yeah,
there's no bears. Then you have snakes, but I mean, as long as you keep your tent closed, there won't be snakes. Keep your tent closed and keep the zipper at the top, and everything will be fine.
no. Cabins are a great compromise.
I think it depends on how good the cabin is, because sometimes you get more scared of the cabin than you do of your tent. But
That might be something you do with Diana first as a cabin, and then slowly, then you try a
or,
camp.
or I can buy a yurt. I don't know
There you go.
those are really nice because it's like huge. There's even places for like a little camp stove. And
Oh,
also, if you don't like sleeping on mattresses, there's cots, and cots are wonderful. Or if you don't like doing any tents or anything, you just sleep in a hammock. Those are good too.
yep,
So
yep.
there's a lot of options. But yeah, no, you surprised me on that. I thought you would choose the hotel room, but
Kind of surprised myself as I thought through it.
yeah, but good. No, that was those were good. You gave me some great answers. I appreciate that. Was there anything else
Absolutely.
you wanted to say before we end it?
No, think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening and for
Welcome.
participating. And we will see you next week on Blood Talk. Everybody stay safe. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Blood Talk. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more content. We are on all of the popular podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and we're even on YouTube. Don't forget to send in your questions and your suggestions. Thank you once again, and have a great day.